This is the highest point of Robert Downey Jr.'s long and illustrious career. Well, one of the highest points.
Right then and there, could have been a good opening for Robert Downey Jr. to slap Jimmy Kimmel. People have heard about Downey Jr.'s troubled past with drug addiction, but they might have never known all the disturbing details.
Robert has been a... Was that too on the nose, or was that a drug motion you made?
Everything started when he was just 8 years old, when his father gave him his first drugs. Years later, in early 1996, Sean Penn and Dennis Quaid knocked Downey's door down, stole his keys, and dragged him to a rehab center. But he checked himself out just a few days later. He ultimately got arrested for possession of heroin, cocaine, crack, and an unloaded Magnum handgun while hurtling down Sunset Boulevard. He got on parole, but he ended up wandering into a neighbor's home and sleeping on an 11-year-old's bed while under the influence. The family luckily had the grace to not press charges, but the tape of the mother's 911 call was put on the internet. He ended up in and out of rehab and jail after. Downey was able to get Robert Shapiro as his lawyer, getting the same team that successfully defended O.J. Simpson. But he was still sentenced to a 3-year prison term. But after a year, a judge ruled him qualified for an early release because of his collective time in incarceration. Just a week after, he joined the cast of the hit television series Ally McBeal. But he fell off the wagon and got arrested on Thanksgiving in 2000 for being under the influence and in possession of cocaine and Valium. He could have been convicted, but he still signed on to appear in at least 8 more Ally McBeal episodes. It kind of paid off since he got nominated for an Emmy and won a Golden Globe. But in April 2001, a police officer found him wandering barefoot in Culver City. He got arrested, but was released a few hours later despite his tests showing he had cocaine in his system. It was the last straw. Executives fired him from Ally McBeal. It didn't matter how much he helped with ratings. The arrest also cost him a role in America's Sweethearts and prompted Mel Gibson to cancel his Hamlet production, where he was scheduled to play the titular character. Downey once said that his performance in Ally McBeal was overrated, calling that time his lowest point in terms of addictions. He didn't care whether he acted again at that point. He was homeless, a huge insurance liability, and on the verge of bankruptcy. In December 2000, Downey's stepmother Rosemary told People magazine that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which she said was the reason he had trouble staying sober. But years later, in 2007, he denied ever being depressed or manic, saying any diagnosis would have been skewed because the person diagnosing him didn't know he was on drugs. A proper diagnosis could only be done if he was sober. But in August 2001, things started to turn for the better. Downey got a job lip-syncing for Elton John's music video for I Want Love. Elton himself also suffered from drug addiction and spent time in rehab. He knew exactly what Downey was going through. But it was really Mel Gibson who saved his career. In 2003, Downey stopped at a Burger King on the Pacific Coast and threw all his drugs into the sea like it was the ashes of his former self. He still couldn't get hired since most filmmakers wouldn't or couldn't pay the exorbitant insurance bonds required to have him on set. But Gibson paid for his insurance bond for the 2003 film The Singing Detective. His gamble really pushed Downey toward his comeback. Downey released his debut musical album, The Futurist. He called Family Guy's production staff and got himself a voice acting gig in the episode The Fat Guy Strangler as Patrick Pewterschmidt, Lois Griffin's long-lost, mentally disturbed brother. But it was in 2008 when his fame truly shot up. He starred not just in one, but 2 critically and commercially successful films, Tropic Thunder and Iron Man. And now he just won his first Oscar in Christopher Nolan's film, Oppenheimer. This was truly his highest point.